this episode is near and dear to all of us because it is about race in America. Obviously, last episode you saw my older sister, Shoshana, who is right there waving. But now I'm joined by my sister in loves, Keisha. And Keisha. How crazy is that they have the same name? So they're both married to our older brothers. Let's start with Keisha. Let us know the length of the time that you've been married to your Black man and the stature of your husband. Describe him to us. Okay.
Again, my name is Keisha. I've been in the family for 21 years. This year makes it 22 years. I'm a registered nurse. And my husband, he is 6 feet tall, dark chocolate, handsome Black man, bald-headed. And I always have a fear of my husband coming home at night, at midnight when he comes home from work, because he's 6 feet tall and he's 260 pounds. So, that's always been a fear for years. One night he got stopped, and I'm not going to get too much into details because we'll talk about that later. But one night he got stopped because he went under the speed limit. Like, how does that happen? But anyway,
like you're driving too slow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going a little too slow. And it might have been like maybe 5 miles under the speed limit. So, they just needed to stop him and make sure that he was upright citizen. But again, like I said, I'm like everyone else. I'm a little terrified because of the way he looks, and also to describing his personality. He is very strong-minded, so he's the type of Black man that is not going to allow you to tell him that he's doing something wrong when he's not doing something wrong. So I've always had talks with him like as if he's the teenager, and tell him, don't forget, you cannot be asking too many questions when you get stopped by the cops. Put your hands on the steering wheel. We go through the whole, he gets pissed off at me, but he knows what I'm talking about. He understands what I'm talking about. We actually went over again today. And he's like, I know. So that's what we're going through right now.
So would you say, just off of GP, that he would remind someone of George Floyd?
Of course. Actually, he looks bigger than George Floyd. He looks bigger than him. So
okay, I just want to give the audience a visual.
Yeah, he definitely he has that look.
Okay.
Looks like a grizzly bear sometimes. So
I wouldn't say he's a grizzly. I wouldn't say he's a grizzly. He's a sexy. All right. So Keisha, introduce yourself and let us know how long you've been married and with your husband and his stature.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Keisha. I have been with my husband for a very long time.
Like, can you give us like a ballpark figure?
34 years.
Yeah. I just want people to
That's
know.
34. That was 34, right? Okay.
Just wanted people to know how long that we actually knew her.
You guys were little girls.
Yes, we were. Yes.
And to describe my husband is like 5'9". He's not as big as he once was because he's lost a lot of weight, but once upon a time he had that intimidating weight to him. So with his height and weight, it was very intimidating, and he has a bald head. He's Black, bald head, big. Threat.
Okay. Shauna.
Hello again. I'm Shauna. My husband and I have been married for 4 years. but we've been together for 12 years. And he is 6'1" and 260-ish. So he's big. So I'm always afraid when we are on the street. Like, I'm always afraid. You know, I call him and text all day, like, hey, I'm just wondering if you're okay. You know, so it never like helps when things like this happen, because my anxiety like goes up to like here. So I'm just, sleep is not good now. It's just because it's just like, I just want to be okay.
And I've been with my husband.
It's been a minute.
Around that ballpark, yeah. My husband is dark chocolate, sexy specimen. And when I first met my husband, and now too, he was always known as Lou Ferrigno. And if you don't know who Lou Ferrigno is, that's the Hulk. Like, really, intimidating, like, and he got the walk and he has a very overpowering voice. And in his line of work, he was always wearing masks. So he could be a little intimidating sometimes because of the fact that, all he doing is working, but to other people, he's just intimidating. That being said, I think that we all have, and we share the same plight as far as worrying about our men and them coming home safely. But because of what's going on today in America with the Ahmaud Arbery's, the Breonna Taylor's, the Central Park Karen, who I have a whole nother issue with, the lady that we were just discussing off air, that was at one of the rallies in the wheelchair, that was the Caucasian lady that was going around stabbing people, and then as soon as the cameras got on her, she started, this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She was able to walk. You see, she was able to walk?
She was able to walk.
Yeah.
Okay. And, all of us are from the New York area, and we could spot a hustler 18 miles away. You know what I'm saying? So the quote unquote white tears that they talk about, when we see it, it's like,
girl, bye.
So before we even get into that, I wanted to start off by giving this little prelude of the conversation, and I wanted to say it to you guys first and to the audience so that we can start from there as far as the narrative and then move forward. Okay, so everybody knows that when I went to school, I studied motion picture and television, right? And one of the first things our professor had us do was watch the movie A Birth of a Nation. Anybody ever heard that movie? Okay.
And
so
not but you have to be clear, it's not the one with
I'm going there.
The original Birth of a Nation.
So this movie is actually made by D.W. Griffith. And it was actually the first motion picture ever made. So obviously, if you're taking motion picture television, they want you to use that as a reference. So this movie was also debuted in the White House as well. So what this movie did in D.W. Griffith's mind, and I'm just going there as someone who does production and stuff like that, there was no speaking, but it was a motion picture. And there were no Black people in the movie. However, they were Black-faced. And the premise of the movie was the big man coming for the precious white woman
Woman.
and chasing her throughout the movie to the point where she was ready to throw herself off of a cliff to get away from this big black man, right? So this is the first thing that people saw on film. And then this started a narrative, because obviously we know from history, if we're going to go historically, the people that pillaged and went after women and raped and sodomized and looted and destroyed and stole
We're all white
historically
men.
has been white men.
Yes.
But the very first motion picture that was ever made was made for you to think that it's the black man that is going to do this to you and your wholesome, sweet, genuine, loving white woman.
White woman.
Right? So this is the narrative that has been started from eons ago. Okay, and like I said, it was debuted in the White House. So this is how big the movie was. Now Nate Parker came out with a Birth of a Nation movie a few years ago, and he was railroaded because, he was accused of rape years prior when he was in college, and he was acquitted. But the sisters, our sisters, basically boycotted the movie. And I saw the movie in the actual movie theaters, and I thought that it was a great movie. And
Well, it was also, but you have to remember, it was also put out there only to destroy the movie to get small viewership, because it actually told the story
Of Nat Turner.
as far as the Nate Parker movie, I think that it was great. And it also showed the tenacity of us as a people, even during slavery, even though some people thought that slavery was a choice. And maybe still think that. Who knows? But
it's so, it's so funny because slavery is a choice today.
Today.
For us.
Today.
For us. Today.
Well,
I
that.
I'm going to tell you why. Because some of us are afraid to come out of the cocoon that we've been placed under, and we constantly use excuses as to why we can't do certain things that we can do, that it has been proven that we can do. Oh gosh, I can go on. Let me stop.
As for the whole slavery being a choice thing, obviously that was a dig. Because my sarcasm is at an all-time high. Mm-hmm. And because of the fact of what I'm seeing on the news and just what we experience on a daily basis, just being Black.
And the books that we were taught from in school didn't teach us who we were and didn't teach us our history. And some of us were fortunate to have parents that did teach us our history. But for those that were unfortunate enough not to have their parents teach them their history, many of them never educated themselves or try to get the information that's out there. So that's why I say slavery is a choice today, in that sense, because we don't take advantage of the information that I can tell you is there, and you'll argue me because you still listening to Master tell you that no, it's this.
Well, the great thing about that is that Shauna and I did have a school that taught us
all Black.
Like we did rites of passage, we did all that good stuff. Like we like every morning we was listening to Bill Withers or Whitney Houston talking about the greatest love of all, or Lean on Me. Because of that, we have such a disconnect when it comes to who we are and how to go about achieving a status, because I think they said for us to catch up to the white man economically because of all of the bills and the things that they were given as far as from the government. For us to catch up to them economically would be, I think, a 300-year gap or 200-year gap, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about white women and the disparity between how we're treated and they're treated?
Oh, so that's a good question for me, because in the field that I am in, like I said, I'm a registered nurse. So even though I have this title that a lot of people say, oh, that's a great career, which it is a great career, I myself see how there's such a ladder of how the Black nurses are on the bottom of the barrel versus the white nurses. Sidebar, before I even get to that part, me as a visiting nurse going into white neighborhoods, most of the neighborhoods I go into are white, and I've been called, the cops has been called on me several times being in white neighborhoods. I could be sitting in my car charting, making calls, and matter of fact, in my own town, I was up the street from my kids' elementary school. I dropped them off. My boss called me. I pulled over to the side of the road, right up the street. And the family came out the house, looked at me. I rolled down my window. I said, I'm a visiting nurse making calls. Still called the cops. This happens often for me. As a Black nurse, the cops are being called on me.
Which leads me to my next example. She may not have been perfect, but I believe that she was perfect for us, for the country, for our little girls. I mean, even more so than Jackie O. And I'm talking about Aunt Shelley. AKA.
You mean the woman that has my name?
AKA.
And her husband has my husband's name.
And Uncle Barry.
And Uncle Barry.
We are the original Barack and Michelle. We've actually been together longer than they have. We are.
Let her believe what she want to believe.
Yeah, let her believe it. Let her believe it. Let her believe it.
No, honestly, we have been together
All
longer
right
than they
already.
have.
All
So we
right.
are the original Barack and Michelle. Excuse you, people.
But it was just, say what you want about their politics.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one thing. But just as who she is and what she represents, what they were able to let everyone see, that there is such thing as Black love.
Black love.
And there is such thing, not all men cheat on their wives. It's just a whole, thing that I think sometimes that goes along with Black.
Yeah.
And love.
The perception of it. So that to juxtapose Michelle and ironically Melania.
I just wanted. Can we hope before we go there? Can we just piggyback on what Shauna was saying about Black love and the Black family? The Black family wasn't torn apart by the choice of the man leaving his family. The Black family was torn apart because Mr. Sims decided that he was going to sell my husband off, which leaves me now with my children on your plantation for you to continue having sex with me. And And when you decided that you were going to start to sell my children, you sold my children.
Yeah.
So the Black family wasn't torn apart by us.
Right.
I don't think people understand the whole concept of jumping the broom and why and what it signifies for us. They didn't want us to be married.
Yeah.
They didn't want us to have a family unit. So we had to sneak and marry. So when they say that, oh, Black men don't, this is years and years, and people need to understand that PTSD is real.
Yes,
Very real.
It is
Very
ingrained and
real.
embedded in the fiber of our being.
Yes.
Our babies are we carry our babies with this PTSD. Because it just, the generation, it just keeps, and it just continues and it continues and it continues. And this narrative that Black men don't take care of their kids and Black men leave. No, Black men were taken away from their families. They were removed from their families. That's something that they didn't just decide to do. And you know, it became a thing that, oh, there goes that woman, you know, with all those kids and no husband. And even as when you go later down the years, even with
But
social
even
services,
now,
you couldn't have a husband and be on public
prison.
assistance.
Yeah.
You had to lie about having a father for your children.
Yeah.
Just to get aid.
Hey, yeah.
Before you go further, I just want to continue what I was saying about I want to juxtapose Michelle and Melania because of the fact that, in my opinion, Michelle was she had to be the epitome of perfection as a Black woman, the most educated ever to be in the White House.
Yes.
Ever to be in the White House.
Ever.
She did a health initiative that people hated on her for because of the fact that America is just fat. You know what I'm saying? Because we just eat the wrong things, and people hated on her because she was trying to get kids healthy, you know? And here we have Melania, as I forgot his name.
Her platform is to stop bullying.
But she's married to the main bully.
Bullying, and she's married to, and he just actually did an executive order against Twitter.
And he's the bully.
He's the biggest bully there is. But see, this is what I'm talking about how we as Black women and Black men have to be overachievers to just be considered, not even on an even plane, to just be considered, he's okay. Barack had the swag of Denzel. Okay, you know, and you know how Denzel walked with the, you know what I'm saying?
It's bigger than Barack having the swag. It's so much more than that, because
that's the first thing. That's the first thing. Because we ain't never had somebody at 1600 with that much swag. That's number one. Number two,
but let's get into
he was educated with constitutional law, so he knew what he was doing. Like he grassroots. He did his due diligence, and he graduated from one of the top Ivy League schools in the nation. So
wrote a book. Not have someone write a book for him.
No,
he wrote the book. Not have someone take notes and then type notes. He wrote the book.
And had advisors that were, and he had enough sense to be smart enough to have advisors
who were experts in
their field. Now, did I agree with every decision that he made? No.
Of course not.
But Michelle, being as smart as she is, she knew to play her role as First Lady and not get so involved in politics. Because in that Netflix special that she just did, she said that when she actually came out and she was speaking off the cuff and was just like, for the first time, she's very proud of her country. and people
Oh,
took that
they,
and
yeah.
tried to murder her with it
Yeah.
because of the fact that she was telling her truth.
But as black people, have we ever been proud of the country? Just say it in America.
Railroaded for wearing no sleeves.
No sleeves.
Now you let Michelle or Auntie Shelley have posed nude.
Oh,
You
please.
let Barack have had 3 wives
He wouldn't be in office.
and cheated
Trump played into the ignorance of
this country, and he became
and
president.
he played into the ignorance of poor white people.
Yes.
But who
He
else did?
sold them on a dream that
But you
does
know
not
who did
exist.
that? Who did that before he did? Hitler.
Yeah.
Hitler did the
Yeah,
same
basically.
thing.
He got the same. He got the same rule book. He go through it. But even though he don't stay, he got it on Audible because he don't read. Anyway, he got the Hitler Audible book because he don't read. But imagine for Michelle and Barack, who worked so hard to not even win the country, but be the president and the first lady for everybody, to have to now hand over the White House to the same jerk and jerk's wife that bashed him and her
So
the entire presidency.
prior,
Okay,
ladies, do y'all remember that day when they did the transition?
Yes.
And Michelle's face looked like she took a shit. And when somebody took a shit, and her face was screwed up like she was smelling shit all day.
She was like,
she couldn't hold it. She said
I can't believe this is actually happening.
But it's so funny because he cheated on his first wife, which led to them divorcing and then him marrying his second wife.
Yes.
So his wife was who he was having an affair with. The second wife was who he was having an affair with when he was with the first wife.
Yes.
And then has had relationships with hookers.
I don't need nobody at the door.
I mean, because let's be honest.
Listen, the thoughts.
But let's be honest. But let's be honest.
Hers and hers herself. Okay.
It was said that Barack was going to be a one-term president.
Yes, they wanted to make him a one-term president.
And Moscow Mitch. I still don't understand why he in office, but that's another situation.
He said Barack will be a one-term president. In Barack's first term, there was no tarnishment on him as a man.
Yes.
Right.
Him as a husband, and him as a human.
Yes.
In his second term, there was still no tarnish on him as a man, as a human, as a husband, as a person,
as a father,
and as the president of this United States of America.
His only scandal was that tan suit. That was like the biggest scandal of his presidency.
And let's be honest, that was really a scandal.
Right.
No, but that's what Fox News.
His suit choice was a scandal where we had this man who constantly tried to call him out, saying he wasn't American. He wasn't American.
Yep.
He's not American. Let's get his birth certificate. He's not American.
But
Number
one, even
Melania, you've been married to women.
Had an interview with Joy Behar saying that she did not believe, this was before she became first lady. Saying that she did not believe that Barack Obama. Now Melania,
this is coming from a woman. This is coming from a woman who is here on an Einstein visa. I'm still trying to understand what is her talent and what is her gift. That she was here on an Einstein visa.
Plastic surgery.
That is her talent and that is her gift. For her
And
to
her
have been granted an Einstein visa.
and her other talents, if you know what I mean.
Now he got 3 baby mamas.
This country is going to be in a whirlwind, and guess what? We are.
And you know what, too?
Look where we are now.
Look where we
But
are.
real talk, because at the end of the day, she's a black woman, so she had to stand next to a man and a woman that was bullying
Her
her and her
husband.
family for 8 years.
Mhm.
He freaking bullied them for 8 years. So
Yeah.
now you got to be standing next to him, shaking hands. Like, that's like standing next to your rapist.
Exactly. And see, and that's the point I wanted to get to, because of the fact that we always have to put on that
face,
even
Yes.
though we know that we've been wronged, we've been literally molested or raped or whatever by somebody, and we have to literally smile with our accuser. I mean, with our abuser.
Yeah.
That is like the epitome of the Black experience in America.
Yes. And I want to add something, because being in the medical field, like I said, I go into many homes. So first of all, the 8 years that Obama was in office, it was very hard for me to go in many homes that were Trump supporters. And as a professional, a lot of times they would poke at me because they would talk shit about Obama. I won't say all of them, but a lot of them would talk shit. I remember I was in this house with a young girl, might have been 18 and 19 years old, and she was like, fuck Obama. Mind you, her grandmother was sitting right there. The grandmother was a patient. And she was talking all this shit about Obama. So but the point I wanted to make was the fact that being in the medical field, they had the nerve, and everybody's perception is lazy Black people. You've been here from the beginning, and you don't have half of what we have. And going back to what you said, Kaya, like it would take us 300 years to match what they have. But you have other cultures that have come to this country way after we have, and they look down and like, well, how come you guys are not at the level that you should be? So you got so many cultures, it's that look down on us, and it's sad that I go into neighborhoods where, like I said, people have called the cops on me. If they don't call the cops on me, sometimes I get the owner stands right by my car and act like he's throwing out his garbage and keep looking at my car. But I've been in neighborhoods where the only culture that's not allowed in that neighborhood is us. They're okay with high yellow Spanish people that could pass for white to be in there. They're okay with Hindu Indians being in there. They're okay with Asians being in there. But we are not allowed in there. And they would make it a point to make sure we don't get in those neighborhoods. So we as the culture, we're up against everyone.
But see, I'm glad that you brought that up. But wait, hold up. Because this is where I want to get to the ends.
Well,
okay, because y'all Panamanians, right?
Before you get there, I just want to say something, because it actually goes back to how you started off this session with speaking about Birth of a Nation. The reason why other groups of people look at us, and because I'm a Black woman, and I know where people go sometimes, but I'm a Black woman. People look at me. You see me as a Black person. Yes. Spanish is my parents' first language. They will get into that, but that comes from these images,
media
that has been put out there about us
globally.
We're considered lazy Black people. I don't know how we could possibly be considered lazy when we picked the cotton. We did all the work.
Right.
We nursed
the baby.
This is like my best friend says. She says, because even West Indian, and I think we're all West Indian in some type of way. Africans, actual African, not African Americans, but Africans, West Indian people, they come, even them say that we're lazy. And my best friend says, how are we lazy when we built this nation in order for you to come here and have a better life?
For free.
For you to come here and have a better life. You wouldn't be able to come here.
Exactly.
And be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever you want to be if we didn't work our selves to the bone. So you know what? If we want to take a break today, well, you know what? Doggone it, I'm going to take a break. How about that?
It gets deeper, and it gets deeper even with the ands, because as time progresses with them in this country, some of them start to realize that you're not a West Indian. You're not.
They don't see you
like
as
the rest of them.
You're black
or Trinidad.
You're black.
Or
And
Haitian.
your children are now treated
as black.
the same way Black American children have been treated in this country.
Yeah.
As soon as you picked up,
you make him harm because you stated to Chris Cooper,
I'm going to call the police.
Call the cops and tell them that an African American man threatened me.
I just feel like I always have to fight extra hard just to be seen.